The sixth habit of a highly defective leader is a little more subtle than the others. The other habits are easily identified, and others and survival techniques are included to help deal with a defective leader in your workplace. But this one, the leader that avoids blame, is really aimed at you, dear listener. Passing the buck is something that only you can fix. This behavior manifests itself most easily, but by no means exclusively, in junior leaders, particularly first-time leaders promoted out of the work group they now lead. Having been just one of the team for a long time, it can be difficult to see the psychological separation necessary to be an effective leader. Once entrusted with the mantle of leadership, we are no longer just one of the team, it is our team. Junior and inexperienced leaders, however, can easily fail to make the transition in their own minds and can continue to try to seek approval of the team as if they were still a member of that team. Certainly not limited to new leaders promoted out of a work group, this habit can afflict leaders at all levels of an organization. The basic motivation for this habit is an easy one to understand. Everybody wants to be liked. It can seem easy in the moment to blame bad things on higher authorities. The boss is easy to blame for unpopular practices or instructions, while you get to take credit for the good things. Seems like a win-win. Just blame the guy or gal who's not there for the stuff that people don't like. In the penultimate book on the accumulation of raw power, The Prince, Machiavelli advises, princes should delegate to others the enactment of unpopular measures and keep their own hands on the means of winning favors. That's good advice for an unethical and unprincipled monarch in the eve of the Renaissance, but terrible advice for a leader in today's modern workplace. Be willing to be the bearer of bad news. When a leader blame shifts bad news to a superior leader, they are essentially taking themselves out of the chain of command, rendering themselves irrelevant. If you're not responsible for what happens in the workplace, do your subordinates even need you? Who's really in charge here? Example of blame shifting. You won't believe what they're telling us to do now. Or, I don't like it either, but the boss said we have to. Or, City Hall is making us blank. Or, the mayor wants us to do this. Or, John's instructions are to do that. In each of these examples, the leader is blaming an external authority for the situation, seemingly avoiding responsibility and leaving themselves with clean hands. It's not my fault is the unspoken part of these instructions. Giving instructions on explaining policies like this massively increases the insecurity of the members of the work group. If even their boss feels powerless, they think, how much worse must it be for them? The subtle rhetorical flares intended to boost one's popularity as a leader really have the opposite effect. It's a way of unnecessarily surrendering your credibility. It turns you into a mouthpiece for someone else's, a lackey carrying around other people's orders rather than a leader entrusted with a mission and a work group. Instead, it is far better to personalize and reinterpret instructions or policies for your work group. Take the blame for unpopular measures, show some empathy, issue the unpopular instructions. The flash of dissatisfaction is always temporary anyway. Then we go to work. Try instead, here's what we're going to do, or the policy for XYZ is, or here's how I want to tackle the next assignment, or I know this isn't going to be fun, but here's what we are going to do. It is much more direct and importantly shows you have taken ownership of the assignment. It's your task and the work group will do it because you said they will do it. Your team will proceed with confidence simply because you started from a position of strength, your own leadership. Rather than blaming an external authority, your team will know that you put your own reputation behind whatever it is, and even if begrudgingly, proceed with the work because that's what their job is. Not every unpopular policy or instruction will pass close scrutiny, even if implemented with complete confidence. Trust that the real, heartfelt disgruntlement over workplace policies and instructions has many ways to get itself hurt. From grievances to survey sensing sessions and simple hallway conversations, a workplace's opinion of really unpopular policies or measures will make their way back to the originators. Do not fear that you will have the stifle of free expression of your work group. Avoiding blame seems like a good way to get in the good graces of your employees, but they don't need a buddy, they need a leader. Leaders take responsibility for what happens within the confines of the work group, good or bad.